Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Santa's Switch Adapted Toys. Today, we're going to be adapting the Play School Gears toy. And you can see here, we press this button, all kinds of activities. We'll run for prescribing the Okay. So I'm going to set aside all these gears because otherwise they're just going to fall off when we turn it over to operate it. To adapt it. We've got all those gears out of the way. Okay. So in order to adapt this, we're going to use a mono cable. I've got a mono cable. Mono cables have two wires on them, and stereo cables have 3 wires on them. Now you can use a stereo cable, and down below in the description, I'll link over to how to turn a stereo cable into a mono cable, because that's all you need for a switch adapted toy is these 2 wires. Okay. So we'll link that down in the description. So turn this over. Whoops. Let me turn it off. The switch here is on the back. The switchboard is down here. So this has, you count these, every one of these dark spots a hole that you need to pull a screw out of. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I've got most of them out. And we're going to take out, I have the center one is the only one that I have left. Just hold it together while we could demonstrate the function. So before I lift this up, I'm going to warn you, the motor is held in place by this back. And also one of the primary gear that operates, it's held in place by this back. So when I pick this up, we're going to rotate it this way and get it. Let's see, I could probably set it over here, which is kind of out of the way for our operation. The motor could just literally jump out on you. These gears could fall apart on you. So you want to make sure that you don't lose perspective as to where these gears go. Big part is on the bottom. It'll go back into there. The motor just sets into here and interacts with that. So while we're working with it, I'll do my darndest not to disturb it, but just as a heads up to you, that jumps out, that's where it goes. There's a clear, the switch that for operating this is underneath this board right here. There's a clear piece of plastic that they put on to help protect that. And to slide 2 screws, we're going to remove these 2 screws because we need to gain access to the other side of that board. Okay, I'm just going to set these parts in here for the moment. Now we've gained access to the opposite side of the board, and there's the switch that activates the toy. It is a, I'm not going to be able to zoom in on this very well for you. Let's try. But if you look at that, it is a all familiar printed circuit mounted switch silicone pad. In order for us to work on it, we need to get underneath that. So a flat screwdriver, it's held in place by these 2 little rubber pads here, a flat screwdriver underneath that, a gentle pry, and that's out of the way. And again, I'll just set that over here. So here's the critical part. I like to solder on known condition points. This particular toy on this circuit board, let's see if I can combination hold it up to the camera. If you look at that and trace out both sides of the a switch, a printed circuit switch, there is no way for you to get to, there's no solder points. You have to solder to where it is on that, underneath there. So we're going to take something sharp. I use an X-Acto knife. I've got a couple of them that I use for this. And I have discovered that in order to solder on here, you need to loosen up a protective coating that's on it. Now, I'm going to scratch it. Now, you don't want to scratch it all completely off because you'll break the connection and ruin the toy. So this is a little care that's got to be done. But we're going to scratch that surface a little bit so it'll take some solder. I have found that this is a very convenient and secure way of doing it. Also, this connection here, when I'm done soldering this, I'm going to hold it up so that you can see where we've soldered to, and you get a better idea as to what I'm doing here right now. So don't despair. I need to get the cable in here. So how to get the cable in? This is, I made a mistake. I should have put all these parts out of the tray because I need to turn this over and do some location. So I think a good place to put the cable where it's going to get right where we want it to be is going to be on this side by the switch nail. Yeah, anywhere along the bottom. And anywhere along this bottom area would work for you. Keeping in mind that when so I'm going to do it on this side, that way I can keep things close. We're going to do it here. I use a drill motor. Blow out the debris. I'm going to pull this cable in. Actually, I had this open. Okay. I noticed there was something on that cable, some solder on it, and it made me wonder whether or not there was a problem with the cable. And I had used it and set it aside before, so I'm not going to bother using it for this. Tie a knot in the cable. That prevents it from being pulled out. Strain relief. A knot is much more secure. You'll see me do this on every toy that or device that I adapt. We're going to leave this long so that we can, I don't know if I can get, let's see if I can get this held up. The whole thing is kind of awkward. I've got stuff going on. Yeah, here we go. I got my third hand in here. It reaches in fairly well. And clamp that into place. So I need to get some solder and put it down on those 2 points that I scratched. And again, this is just one of those things that's necessary for this type of a toy. We need to have some solder because we're going to be doing it on the board, because there is no other way of getting this to go in. Okay. So this is one that you might really reconsider doing if you're not comfortable soldering on the board. All right, so we've got some solder on the board. And now we're going to solder these wires to it. when you solder these wires to it, you just want to make sure that you avoid, there's two holes here that silicone switch was in, and we want to avoid that. Their silicone switch is flexible enough that it will come over the top of these wires without having any issues. And I'll demonstrate that when we get it set up. Okay, so let's test this. I know that the motor is going to be whirling. Let's see, I've got my solder's points on there. A little pull up with the solder point or with the wire to indicate how strong it is. It's very good. Let's turn it on and hook up. I have a off-camera switch that we're going to use. Okay, so it works. Move this out of the way because we're done with it. Let's try that off-camera switch again. And I'm going to turn it off because there's no other way of slowing down that action. So that's done. It's adapted. That's the only way to adapt this toy that I'm aware of because of the way the circuitry is. It goes straight in. And I mentioned that this, I'm sorry, before I do that, I said I was going to pick this to the camera so you could see what I've done. Whoops. Length of cables and things like that. Okay, so you can see here that I scratched the surface, soldered on both sides of that switch, that printed circuit board, and it doesn't take much, but it's definitely necessary to do that. And so that's what it looks like. Okay, so now we're going to put that silicone factory switch back on so that we can put it back into anyone can operate it, so that the factory that will go through. This particular switch requires that you put the starter, and I'm going to just roll this pair of tweezers and pull that through there. I'm going to do the back side again, so get that through. Perfect. Okay, and I said that flexible enough that your switch isn't going to matter. We're going to turn that on. We're going to activate it with this switch. Okay, factory switch still works just fine. Turn it off to stop the action. So we need to put this back together and get it mounted back on the board. That was these large washer type screws. Whoop. And there's one. There's two. Set this back on there. Again, let's make sure that that motor is set right. The gears are set right. We're going to now pull this wire, our new cable, so that it's up to the housing. I made a mistake with this cable, and this is what I did. Hold on a minute. Okay, what I did is I tie a knot in it, right? But the corner is over here. The knot's not going to be near it, so I need to give a little more space to the inside. I'm going to loosen this up and make the knot closer to the corner. Okay. Oversight on my part, but easy enough to fix. So now when that knot comes in, I have some flexibility. Piece of plastic that was over the top of that. Put that piece of plastic back in place. No other parts, so we're good. When we line this up, we gently set it back down on here, and it will nicely catch and line up to that gear that's in there. So let's put one screw in to hold it in place. Turn it on for play. And I'm going to activate it with my off-camera switch. There we go. Switch. And I turn it off for a moment and back on, we can confirm that this one works. Okay. So there it is. And that is how you adapt the Skool gear toy. All right. Thanks for watching. If you have any other questions, please put them down in the comments below. If you subscribe to my channel, you will see every time that I put a video up, it'll notify you. And we're all in this to learn. So thank you for watching. This is Santa Jerry from Santa Jerry Switch Adapted Toys. Have a wonderful day.